Okie dokie. Ironically, we will do here on an online class, we will do a few little practices to relieve the eyes of that screen fatigue. And we'll start, if it's okay with your body, sitting. And you can sit on anything you like. I would recommend you are on something though. Please don't be endeavoring to be flat on the floor unless that's a really happy place for you. And in addition, have some supports for under your knees. I'm just going to pop a little extra light on here. And if you have eyewear, take it off. That's not going to be the entire practice, but a little bit. So the first thing we'll do, which may be the loveliest thing at the end of a long day, is close our eyes. Unless that feels a bit dysregulating and you need to have them open for your nervous system comfort. And we'll take our attention down into the body to where the body is meeting the floor. And of course, if you are uncomfortable sitting, feel free to change and go onto your back or lean against a wall or change your leg position, straddle a bolster so you're kneeling, etc. And take your attention away from tired eyes, if they are tired, and down, as I say, to where your body is meeting the floor or whatever you're sitting on. And notice all the interesting spots of pleasure. I didn't mean pleasure, I meant pressure, interestingly. But hey, if you notice some pleasure, do tune into that. And just noticing that as you choose to connect with the bits of the body that are experiencing pressure, some subtle areas that you might not have noticed if you had maintained your attention up in your head may become apparent. It's very possible for us to have experiences in the body that we're unaware of until we choose to notice them. And that goes for the word I didn't mean to say, which was pleasure also, as well as struggly bits, pressury bits, and even things like feeling your clothing against your skin. And they say if we were constantly feeling our clothing against our skin, it would be immensely irritating. And so there is an ability of the nervous system to choose what it's feeding back to you. But also as conscious humans, we have the choice to bring our attention to areas that may not be apparent until we bring our attention there. Excuse me. And so if we are dominated by one sensation that is bothersome, could be tired eyes after a day of work at a computer, it could be a sensation of anxiety in the belly, it could be aching shoulders, it could be any number of things. And once we know that these are not urgent issues that need to be addressed, noticing that we can make a different choice. It doesn't make the thing go away to focus somewhere else, but it gives maybe the nervous system a little relief from noticing what's wrong and brings it towards noticing what's either neutral, something that is neither right or wrong, or something that actually feels delightful or interesting. So having noticed the pressure, areas of pressure, it might be one ankle on top of another, it might be a knee pressed against the floor or the flexion of a knee, the sitting bones, the tail. And keeping your attention down in the lower half of your body, could you bring your awareness to a search for tingles, anywhere that's tingling from the hips down? And just notice how once you give yourself that instruction, the body kind of lights up in tingles. You notice tingles that you hadn't noticed. And then maybe again from the hips down, could you notice somewhere where you feel warm? And somewhere where you feel cool or less warm? And as you begin to deepen your breath, just check in with whether you're physically comfortable. We're going to be doing a little, paying a little attention to our eyes, and we'll be using our hands. And we will be still for another few minutes. So if you need to change your legs, maybe to out wide or straddle something, most of this would be better done upright if possible. So slide your attention up through your body towards your hands. Notice their temperature and the sensations in your hands. And then take your hands up towards your eyes and keeping your eyes closed if possible. Well, this would be impossible with the eyes open. Could you really lightly, with maybe the middle finger or the fourth finger, stroke your eyelids? I'm saying those fingers because they're going to be less kind of crass and brash in their movements and in their pressure. They'll be very light. And you can stroke in any direction you want. You might want to also stroke up at the eyebrows and maybe under the eyes, really light. Maybe circling or maybe back and forth. And then turn that into terribly light tapping around the eyes, again with the middle or fourth fingers or even little finger, so that the touch is really light. And go all the way around the eye socket. You can get a bit more robust when you get to the eyebrows and the cheekbones. And the bridge of the nose, the inner nose. And then take the flats of your fingers, which I hope are like the tips of your fingers, which I hope are fairly cool, and just rest them on your eyes. And then take your hands away, rest them down, and with a few blinks, open your eyes. And then have a gaze, if you can, at the tip of your nose. See if you can see the tip of your nose. And then try and look up to your third eye, to the space between your eyebrows. And then down to the tip of your nose. And up to the space between your eyebrows. And one more time, down to the tip of your nose. Try and see it. And up to try and see the space between the eyebrows. Bring your eyes back to center. And then keeping your head level, don't move your head at all. Look over into the left corners of your eyes or to the left wall without moving your head. And then look over to the right wall or the right corners of the eyes. And we'll go left, right, left, right, left, right. You're going to try and follow my rhythm. Left, right, the rhythm's going to change. Left, right, 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 left, and center. Blinking the eyes. When you're doing these kind of eye exercises, the aim is to let them get you a little tired, maybe to where the eyes really want to rest, or they start to get maybe slightly watery. And then we're going to do the same up and down. So the head is still in front, and we're going to look up, down, 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 head still, up, down, 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 up, center. And take a little moment, just notice how your eyes are now. For the next one of these saccades, I find it easier to use the thumbs to have something to look at, and also you might find it easier in the ones we just did to have the thumbs side to side for the side to sides and up and down for the up and down. But for this one, we're going to have one thumb up to the right and the other thumb down to the left. So we're going to look up to the right thumb, down to the left thumb, up, right, down, left. So it's a diagonal saccade, up, right, down, left, up, right, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Keep the head still going, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, center. Take a little rest. And then change sides, left thumb up, right thumb down. So we're looking up to the left, down to the right, up to the left, down to the right, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. See the thumbs up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Center, rest your arms, rest your eyes, and just notice how you're doing. And then take one thumb out in front of you, just giving yourself a thumbs up quite close to your face, maybe a foot away from your face. And look at that thumb. And then look into the distance as far as you can see. So if there's a window in front of you and you can look across to a wall or something out the window, if you're in a room, just look as far as the wall. Then look at the thumb, look away, the thumb. So we're going far, near, looking far, looking near, looking far, near, far, near, far, near, far and near. Now looking at that thumb really close, bring it slowly and with great focus towards the bridge of your nose. Watch it, watch it, watch it. When you feel one of the eyes drifting, then bring it out slightly, try and get it back in focus or back to eyes looking at the thumb and come back to the bridge of the nose again. You're looking to get the eyes tired as you do these little press ups of bringing the thumb away and towards and away and towards, but slowly, much slower than I just said. And then the last thing we'll do is take that thumb far away and draw big circles with it without moving your head. Follow it with your eyes. Breathing. Try and really capture the thumb on the whole circle with your eyes. And then use the other thumb to do the opposite direction. Watch it every step of the way. You'll probably find your second hand, if it's not your dominant hand, finds it harder to inscribe a circle. So all that we've been doing is already good for the brain as well as literally exercising the eyes. And having to get this non-dominant hand to do something smooth is an extra challenge. When you get to the bottom, rest and close your eyes. Notice how they're doing. And rest your cool fingertips, if they are cool, I hope they are, on your eyes. Great points of meditation. So at the very least, you've spent 5 minutes being very focused in your mind, away from all the kerfuffle, the struggles, etc. So a meditation at the very least. And then we're going to rub the hands together till they get warm, keeping the eyes closed. And get them really ridiculously warm, like rub-a-dub-a-dub. And then cup your hands over your eyes. And imagine that you are applying a little heat pack to your eyes. And then with a few blinks, open your eyes. And then take your hands away, and you may notice that your room seems clearer to you. Notice what you notice. And then take a nice little easy yawn stretch, whatever your body feels like. If it wants to yawn, please do, or even induce a yawn if there isn't one there. And just see what it wants, see what the legs want, and just give yourself the next half a minute to do what you might do if you were waking up from a nap and your body just wanted a little easing out. Nothing terribly yogic, just feeling into its desires and joys. And you may notice some tricky bits that you didn't know were tricky. You may also notice that some bits are quite free. And remembering that we can choose which of those we tune into at any given moment. And whenever you're ready, take your legs out wide. And I highly recommend you give your knees a nice warming rub so they don't have much blood supply, your knees. So bringing a bit of warmth in them can be tricky. But if we really work with the hands to warm up the knees, we'll also warm up the heart, the hands, the shoulders. Get the heart rate up just by being quite vigorous And then take yourself to vertical and articulate your ankles. You could draw the toes to the nose, point them away. Toes to the nose, point them away. Do a little windscreen wipering. Or circling, or all of the above. And then give your legs a little wobble. Hopefully they're free of stiffness now from if you were getting a bit crumpled up in your seated position. And then we're going to take them into mermaid position on the left. You can stay up on your seating, whatever you're sitting on, or you can come off it depending what's most comfortable for you. And so the legs are out to the left. This movement may feel counterintuitive because obviously it's easier to lean to the right when your feet are out to the left, but we're going to lean the other way. So take that right arm up and tilt towards the left. Now that might be already quite tricky for some of you in your discs, your lumbar spine discs. So stay tall and long as you tilt rather than collapsing in the side, the short side waist. And plenty of breath. And then take that same arm, your right arm behind you, to reach as if you're going to try and hold your left elbow behind you. But I don't want you to hold the elbow. I'm just getting you to bring the hand there because that's a sort of indication of where I want it to go. So it's here. You can see my hand is here, wriggling the blanket there. And we're going to take the left hand to the right knee. And we're going to draw the right shoulder back and let the left buttock lift. So it's a safer twist than if we try to keep the left buttock down. But because our right hand isn't on the floor, we're having to use much more muscular activation in the trunk than pulling with the hands. And even if you float that left hand so that you can't be pulling with that left hand, that would be great too. A little tone in the belly and the pelvic floor, looking over the right shoulder. And then do release the hands down to where they naturally want to land, probably the right hand onto the floor behind your right hip. But you'll notice probably that because you started with the hand off the floor, that you are much more upright than you might be if you had started leaning on that backhand. And then rather than coming back to center, could you take your left hand over onto the floor beyond your hip, beyond your right thigh? So you're kind of leaning as if you're about to, I don't know, well, do what we're about to do, which is to bend the elbows and bring the chest towards the floor. Now, very important to maintain neutral spine here, especially if you have osteoporosis. So you're lifting the chest forwards towards the bottom of your wall rather than trying to get your face towards the floor. I'll just show you this at a different angle so you can see that neutral spine as you go forward. Yeah. Breathing. Stay up on your fingertips maybe just to give your fingers a little work. So this isn't a collapse, it's not a resting type posture. And then inhale to push up and take yourself back to center and swing the legs out to the other side. If you can't do the swing out to the side, which I should have said on the other side, that asymmetry is awkward, you can do this in wide-legged seated position or cross-legged. And then take the left arm up, and this tilt up and over is going to be much smaller than if we tilted the other way. I love giving you unsatisfying twists and stretches. But what I'm trying to do is keep you more in connection with what your body can do when you're present to it and it is present to itself, rather than relying on shapes that allow us to kind of throw ourselves around with that much awareness. And then coming back up, bring that left arm behind you as if you're going to hold the right elbow. You can just about see my hand wriggling there on my right back, lower back. And then we're going to take the right hand to the left knee. And as you turn, you want to stay upright, draw the left shoulder back, let the right buttock come off the floor as it pleases. And this again, as I say, is going to be a smaller twist than if your two hands were on the floor or if your left hand was on the floor. Sitting nice and tall, a little lift in the pelvic floor and lower abdomen. So this is quite muscular. Inhale here. I would call this an isometric contraction of a lot of the muscles of the trunk. And without changing your trunk position, just bring that left hand onto the floor where it naturally lands. And you can take a little weight there, just so you're not so taxed, so effortful in this. And breathe. You might find you can go a little further, but try not to let yourself drop back onto that left hand. Navel gently to the spine. Moving into our breath awareness, which we haven't really come to yet. I always assume a certain level of assumption on your part that deep breathing is what we're aiming for. And we're looking for a long breath in of about, depending on you, between 3 to 6 seconds. I'd be hoping more like 4 or 5. And then an exhale of similar or longer. Then bring the right fingertips to the floor as well. And with your hands in a sort of spidery, fingertips in a spidery situation, we're going to lean out to the left with the chest moving forward so the spine is neutral. That's it. Shoulders back from the ears. Breathing. So you could imagine that you're trying to lean forward enough for someone to put a cup of tea on your back without it spilling. And that if you, or let's say a tennis ball, because if you round the spine, the tennis ball is going to roll off. You're trying to make a surface for someone to put a little ball on your back. And then push down through the hands to come up and come back around to the center and take the legs out wide again if that's an acceptable place for you to be. Or you could go to cobbler position with the soles of the feet together, or you could come into cross-legged. For me, I just like, after a long day when my knees have maybe been sitting more than I want to, I like having long legs. And we're just going to do a nice little circle. Maybe close your eyes, or you could choose actually to really see the room as you circle. Open your eyes and watch what you're seeing as you pass by. Changing direction, taking in your surroundings, or closing the eyes. Today I'm doing a very bad job of taking in my surroundings without wanting to fix a lot of mess that's on the other side of the camera. Normally, this orientation through the eyes is about noticing all those things and being able to see them terribly objectively and not mind at all. Not so today for me. And then back to center and interlace your fingers, turn your palms down towards the floor, bring them up and overhead. And breathe. Baby yawn. And then take your lovely arms down and swing your legs together. And lean back either on your hands if your wrists can take it, or come down to your elbows if you know that your wrists don't like having weight upon them. Then bend your knees and lift your pelvis. Make a table this time on the other side of your body for a tennis ball. Breathing. You can also do this completely down on your back. Won't be much good for a tennis ball, but it'll still give you engagement of the same muscles of the back body. You'll just be missing a little weight bearing on the wrists, and that's fine. Stay for another couple of breaths or take a rest if you need to already, which would be perfectly understandable. And then come slowly down. And we'll lie down on our back. Now, if you've osteoporosis, lying on their back from here is possible but tricky, but we can tend to get rounded like this on our way down. So if you find you can't lie down absolutely flat, come say onto the elbows first and lower yourself down flat, then you're much better to roll to your side, lie down on your side, and then roll onto your back. And from here, bringing your hands down by your hips, we're going to inhale the arms up to the ceiling and overhead as the bum lifts, the spine lifts. And we're going to exhale the arms and pelvis down to the floor. Let's just do that 4 more times, breathing in to float up and exhaling to float down. In your own time, and notice the soles of your feet. And notice the work of the pelvic floor, hamstrings and buttocks as you rise. And those muscles are also keeping the brakes on to stop you falling back to the floor. So not only are those muscles working as you lift, also notice how they slow your descent and stop you plonking down like a ton of bricks. And then when you land, rest. And do a little arch and flatten. So inhaling, the tail reaches away towards the floor at your feet, and exhale, your lower back touches the floor. Inhale as the tail reaches for the feet. There's a little space between the lower back and the floor. Exhaling, it touches. Notice what your eyes want in this time. And then the next time you come to neutral, stay at neutral and organize your feet in a way that feels completely natural. So you might want to maybe give them a shake out and then plonk them down where they feel natural. Or maybe they already feel perfectly fine. Inhale here. And as you exhale, lift up your bum and your spine. And then press down into your right foot as you come slowly, slowly down using the brakes so that the right foot was doing more of the work. Right leg was doing more of the work on the descent. 2 feet evenly, inhale up. And left foot pressing down, right foot a bit lighter, lower, slowly down. That feels risky. Don't do this asymmetrical stuff at all. So we're going to do asymmetrical now on up and down. So press down through the right foot, lighten the load on the left and lift up. Swap feet, so you're pressing down to the left foot and lower slowly down. The right foot is lighter on the floor. Keep the pressure in the left foot, the right foot is light. Exhale or inhale slowly up. Shift sides, pressure mostly on the right. Exhale or inhale slowly down. You're coming up, or you're using the exhale on the movement you find most difficult. Now we're going to keep the weight on the right and lift the left heel if you can. And push down through the right foot to come up. If that feels too much, put the left heel back on the floor. Come down with the weight on the right. When you land, heel, left heel down, right heel up. Inhale, exhale to lift. Most work in the left foot. Right heel stays off the floor and comes slowly down. 2 more variations. Slide your left foot slightly forward so your left heel is perhaps in line side to side with your right toes. Press down through the right foot and lift up. Use the left foot as little as you can. And come slowly down. Swapping sides, slide the right foot slightly forward, left foot back where it was happy. And press down to the left foot and lift up. And come slowly down. And then swap sides again. This time though, the left foot is going to go very long and take the left toes off the floor. The knee is still bent though, of the left leg. And press down, and your left leg will be almost useless to you now. So it's very right-sidey. And come slowly down, use the brakes. And then slide the right leg long-ish, longer. so that you get onto the heel of the right foot. Inhale, and as you exhale up, or maybe you prefer to inhale up and then use the brakes on the way down. Take your legs to the ceiling and just let them kind of flop there, and imagine all the muscles, the hamstrings, the glutes, the thigh muscles, the hip flexors melting, and you're very welcome to give your legs a little stroke or a wobble with your hands or a squidge. And if this isn't a nice restful place to be, do one leg at a time so that you can let it be quite soft. A couple more breaths if you're doing only one leg. And then change sides, or if you've got the two legs up, we'll stay for another 2 or 3 breaths. And then take your legs down and let your legs go floppy onto the floor if that's where they want to be. And then we're going to work into the core a little bit. Press your lower back down into the floor while you lie flat. Very different and more core engaging than pressing the lower back down when you have your knees bent. The belly has to do more of the work. Inhale to relax. Exhale, press your lower back down onto the floor, lift through the pelvic floor, and try and zip up an imaginary pair of jeans between your pubic bone and your navel. Inhale to relax. Exhale, lower back down, lift through the pelvic floor, zip up from pubic bone to navel. And inhale to relax. And one more time, exhale, lower back to the floor, lift through the pelvic floor, zip up from pubic bone to the navel. And inhale to relax. Bring your legs level, sort of as if you were standing quite naturally. So the legs aren't wide and falling out, but the toes are kind of vertical. And then bring your hands under your buttocks, just your hands. So the palms are flat down under your bum. The elbows are out to the sides a little, so it's not a squishy arm under the back situation. Inhale here, and as you exhale, slowly raise up your right leg and try to keep the pelvis stable. So don't let the lower back press onto the floor. Inhale again. And as you exhale, keep the pelvis, even more importantly here, really stable as you bring the leg down. Now, for some of you, that will already have been a bit spooky. If it was too much, we're going to do the same leg again. If it was too much, the first thing you can try is bending the left knee and then doing the leg raises. And if that's not enough, at the beginning and end of the leg raise, you bend that right knee, you lift the leg, then you straighten it once you can. And on its route back down, when you get to a point where you're feeling just a little vulnerable, or just before you get vulnerable, bend the knee, bring the heel down. So whatever version you can manage, starting the leg raise with the knee bent, finishing with it bent, but it goes straight in between, or having the left knee bent. So we'll inhale again and exhale, right leg comes up in whatever way you need, straight all the way or bent at the beginning of the rise, straight when it can, keeping it straight as it lowers, bending it when you need to, if you need to. And we'll do 3 more. Exhale up, left knee can be bent or out flat. Keep the pelvis as still as you can, don't let it rock towards your face, or even more importantly, don't let it rock away from your face so you're not ending up with a big arch in the lower back. Relax your jaw and face. Maybe rest your eyes, or maybe you want to see. So there's a lot of effort on the lift, but also be aware of the braking, the muscles of the belly and the hip flexors, putting the brakes on so your leg doesn't fall like a sack of spuds. Take a little rest now between legs. Few long breaths. And then flexi or organize your feet so your toes are pointing up so that ankles are sort of flexed, enough floint if you like, so that not fully flexed, not fully pointed, but halfway in between. You flex the ankles and you push the balls of the feet forward as if you're pressing the pedals on a car, and leave it there with your feet in a sort of high-heeled shoe shape, and then exhale to lift up. And inhale slowly down, keeping that tone in the belly and pelvic floor. And as you lift, you're not letting the lower back press down, and you're not letting your pelvis rock to and fro. So you're also not letting the lower back arch dramatically. It can get tempting when you know what you're doing and you're like, okay, we just have to do these reps now on this side. It can get tempting to autopilot. But maybe you'd like to add another thought, which is imagine that you're lifting a brick that's tied to your ankle as you go up. And as you bring the leg down, imagine you're trying to pull something that's attached to the wall above your head with something tied around your ankle, or you're squashing the air out of a beach ball under your heel. Lifting up a weight. Could be good to do actually with ankle weights, and squashing a beach ball under the heel. One more time, think of the pelvic floor, because with all this intra-abdominal pressure, you might unwittingly push down to the pelvic floor, which is fine to relax the pelvic floor in certain circumstances, but we don't want to push into it when we're doing this kind of abdominal work. Next time you land, go soggy. Take the hands out. And then bend your knees again, please. And we'll just simply lift up into a more traditional bridge pose. So slightly turn the toes out and bring your arms under your back, hooking your thumbs. Tuck your shoulders in and under and down as if you're reaching your hands down towards your heels. Press down through the arms, lift the pelvis, lift your chin slightly. This is osteoporosis safety here. And then bring your chest up towards your throat without pulling your chin down towards your chest. Breathing, space in the front of the neck so that the back of the neck is not overly extended and there isn't too much flexion in the neck. The priority here is the fronts of the hips and the chest rather than the neck. Well, neck is priority for safety, and the rest is priority for the effects of the posture. When you feel ready, could you lie down on top of the entire length of your arms? This time we're having the hands really tucked in under the pelvis, the palms down, and the elbows are also as far under the back as you can. And then straighten your legs out. If that's too much with the legs straight, bend your knees again. Press the elbows into the floor and lift the chest. And then try and lift your head just enough that you can shift where it's touching the floor so that it is the back of the top of your head that's on the floor or the top of the back of your head. In traditional yoga practices, we would be trying to get the crown of the head on the floor. But for my money, I feel that that is too much for most people's neck. And it is not a necessity for us to live a healthy and happy and comfortable, physically comfortable life, or to get a little stretch for whatever tissues. Press through the elbows, lift the chest, and take the weight off the head. Even though the head is touching the floor, most of your weight should be in your pelvis and elbows. A little tone in the belly and the pelvic floor. Lots of breath. Before you come out of this posture, please slightly lift the head so you're not scraping it along the floor as you lay it down on the back of the head again. Take your arms out from under your pelvis and rest again and go very soft. So a nice little way to go upside down a little bit, that fish pose that we just did, and the Setu Bandha. So we don't have to do a headstand and a shoulder stand to bring a little extra blood flow to the head, maybe to the eyes. So thinking of our lymphatic system and our cardiovascular system and going upside down, it doesn't take all that much. We can also do it by simply being here and floating our legs to the ceiling with our entire spine on the floor. So then we're going to bend our knees and roll onto our belly, please. And when you get up onto your belly, or when you get onto your belly, come up into a nice easy back bend, like as if you're maybe reading a book between your elbows, resting your forehead on your hands with the back of the neck nice and long. Please don't, if you have a quick look, please avoid collapsing into this posture like this. So a little bit of lift of the back of the neck, or thinking of bringing your chin towards your throat might help. And breathe. And then we're simply going to bend the left knee. And the ankle is not desperately flexed, but it's not pointed. So it's kind of fairly relaxed or towards flexed. And then circle that foot in the air. So we're just getting into the knee and the hip. Feeling your way into that hip. Now my movement here is really jerky today. On a somatic level, we're trying to get that smooth and slow. So maybe you need to make the movement smaller and really try and build that brain-hip connection to take the jerkiness out of it. You can rest down on your forehead if being up in your back bend is too much. Try and be smooth and slow. Change direction. Get your brain connected to this movement. It's actually been quite a while since I've done this somatic practice, and it's amazing how much it's deteriorated for me. The jerkiness is quite significant. And then change legs. And you might notice that one is more able to be smooth than the other. So there it's a sense of the foot in the air. This is a hip movement. Change direction. And then release that leg. And slide up into a higher back bend if you have it in you, like a sphinx. And just hang out there. So we're really getting into the fronts of the hips here, the psoas muscle. Softening the shoulders and the jaw. And then when you're ready, could you find yourself something soft, like a cushion? What I'm hoping you can emulate is something that's a little bit like one of these exercise balls. And actually, if you can get yourself one at some point, these are really great for putting under bits of the body that just need a little easing out. Now, I use this for exercise, but right now I'm going to squish a good bit of the air out of it so that it's a bit softer. So if you've got quite a squishy cushion or something that's really a bit soggy, would be what we're looking for. And the idea then is to come back onto the front body and pop it let's say I'm lying on my front now, under the front of the hip. I see you have a ball there, Oliver. Just take a good bit more air out of it. So it's like quite half-baked as a ball. It needs some air. And when you get onto your belly, you put it under the front of your left hip and you rest on your belly and you try to melt. You try to melt the buttocks, the hip, the leg, the belly. Imagining perhaps a sense of spaciousness coming in the front of the hip. Relax the glutes, the buttocks. And breathe. And you might find that it's quite seismic sort of adjustment in the hip and the psoas muscle, a lot of small little bits that you may not have noticed in your day-to-day functioning that may have been a little held are now getting a bit of a sigh of relief. Think of the muscles all through the hip, right into the back, the top of the back of the pelvis, and wherever else you feel it. I'm feeling it right down to my toes. Really try to melt over the ball or the squishy cushion. It really doesn't need to be very inflated or big at all, just a nice soft yielding or substance that is offering you yielding, offering to take your effort. When you're ready, take that ball out carefully and just rest in symmetry for a minute, feeling the space. Maybe only now, once you take the thingy out, that you feel the difference. Maybe you notice the effect just by noticing the difference between left and right. And then take that support and pop it under the front of your right hip, right into that hollow. And try and kind of get yourself on fairly so that you're not leaning towards and onto your left knee and hip too much, but the hips are kind of taking even weight, which is why that ball or thingy needs to be quite squashable, not too inflated. And then try and let the body melt around and onto that support. Breathing deeply. And then when you're ready, just with minimum disturbance, sliding that out. And again, resting. And then bending your two knees, reach back and see, are you able to hold the cuff of your trousers or your ankles? And that may be enough just to hang there quite passively. Don't pull the ankles towards you if you're staying passive. But there's no harm in the odd little passive stretch as long as it doesn't feel like you're really pulling yourself. By passive here, I mean that really your hands are just anchoring the feet in a position that they could be in themselves, but that they're not having to do that work, that they're able to just relax that little bit more. But if you can't maintain your feet at that position without your hands, then you're probably yanking on your ankles, and I don't want you to do that without the ankles activated or the legs activated by flexing the ankles as if you're standing on the ceiling. Then you can hold, because it won't be such a passive stretch because your legs are activated. And then because we know that an extension of the spine requires an external rotation of the hips, just slide your knees slightly out so they're pointing out at a tiny, tiny angle. That should facilitate this back bend rather than trying to keep the knees in line with the hips. Flexing the ankles activates the muscular supports and the ligamentous and tendinous supports around the ankle and knee joints to protect those fellas or girls. And press the pubic bones down to undo a little of the collapse in the lower back that can happen if you're very bendy in the lumbar spine. So we press the pubic bones or the fronts of the hips into the floor to undo that collapse of the lumbar spine. Also draw the navel into the spine so that we're having to use muscular strength to lift the legs rather than a collapse of the spine or a pushing of the belly into the floor. So the belly is lifting up off the floor as the thighs lift, the chest lifts, the face lifts into bow pose. So we might not be able to go as high as we're used to if we're dropping in the spine or not thinking about supporting this with strength. But we may be just a little safer. Feel into the knees. If they're pulling, you might need to rotate them out a little more, because as the hips try to rotate out to facilitate the back bend, and we don't let them by trying to bring the knees to face straight back, we may be pulling on the knees instead, which are really not joints that are going to last very well if we don't prioritize their comfort and safety. Inhale here. Navel to spine gently, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, and then slowly releasing down, resting the feet. Personally, I like to take my hands up under my forehead, rest my forehead on my hands. Breathe and wobble the bum side to side as if we're shaking the flesh of the buttocks, lower back, upper pelvis off the bones. The whole legs can wobble side to side, and let our buttocks be the wobbly, floppy flesh that they truly are, rather than trying to let them be like, snooker balls. Let them be soft. And notice the loveliness of wobbly flesh. A very sensual feeling to let our flesh wobble. And then rest in stillness. And breathe. And then when you're ready, roll over maybe onto your side. And I'm suggesting as you come up 2 restorative poses, and those are going to be in one and then the other, but I want you to choose which order yourself. So think about whether you would like to finish in reclining cobbler or finish with legs up the wall. Legs up the wall is nice to support sleep, may increase blood flow to the head a little bit, slows down the breathing when we go upside down, they say. Some conflicting evidence, but it certainly does seem to support sleep. And then cobbler is one where there's a lot of extension in the spine, so it's really nice for the breathing. It's also kind of marrying into the work we've done on the hips and the back bend and the psoas releasing. But you may be accustomed to finishing in reclining cobbler, and so that may be a nice sort of symbol to you of winding up the class. So whichever one you want to do last, leave that and come to the other one. If you are planning to do, I do make things complicated, don't I? If you are planning to do reclining cobbler as your last one, you could set up for it so that you can slide out of your legs up the wall position really easily and find your block. So your reclining cobbler posture needs a bolster on the floor. It can be elevated at the end, or if you're quite bendy in terms of spinal extension, you may not need to elevate the end. At the bottom of it, I recommend there's something softer than just a yoga mat on the floor, like maybe a folded blanket or something for your bum, especially if you have a bony tail. Sometimes the coccyx, actually, whether you're bony or not, well, we're all bony, we all have bones, but the coccyx and region can get quite inflamed in some of the menstrual cycle, times of the menstrual cycle. But I also find a good few menopausal women getting coccygeal pain. So having something to sit on is nice. And then having the bolsters either side, cushions or blocks either side for your knees for your cobbler. Now I'm demonstrating this one now so that when we've had our legs up the wall, we'll be able to really drop into our cobbler quite quickly without me having to do all this faffing. If you have an eye pillow, it can be a really nice addition, but if you don't, drape your blanket over the top of your mat so that you can pull the whole lot of it over your head. So this will be your reclining cobbler with the blanket up and over and pressed into your eyes, just returning to that little theme from today. You can also have an eye pillow over you when you're at the wall. And for legs up the wall, much simpler. Make sure there's warm things under you so you're not lying on a miserable hard floor. You're very welcome to bring some elevation for the pelvis in case you want to have a little extra upside downness. And you go in backwards or sideways till your bum kisses the wall. Tuck the right arm under, or whichever arm is convenient. Roll onto your back and let the legs float up. If you want that extra lift, be careful of your neck, especially with osteoporosis as you lift the pelvis, that you don't throw too much weight onto the neck. To put your block or cushion under your pelvis, tilt your pelvis away from your face towards the walls here in a slight back bend, Viparita Karani. Rest the arms, maybe putting your eye pillow on your eyes or a scarf or the sleeve of a jumper. And make sure you're warm enough with blankets or heaters or whatever you need. So when you get into that second last position, just because I've said we're going to do 2 more postures doesn't mean you have to. You might find that you'd rather, once you get there, stay where you are, and you'd be welcome to do that. If you're in legs up the wall, think about the bits of today's practice that this, might benefit as an antidote. So particularly, sorry about the hiccups. This might benefit all those bridges we did with the asymmetrical feet, which created a lot of effort in the glutes and hamstrings. The somatic work we did into the hips when we were lying on our belly with the ball and with the circling of the foot was not so effortful as the glute bridges, but certainly got deep into the joint. So both postures are an opportunity for those hip joints to soften. But if you're in reclining cobbler already with the knees wide, your hips are not going to relax and soften if you don't have enough support under your legs. So make sure that the cushions or blocks under your legs that you have are really generous. Both postures will give you an opportunity to rest the abdominal muscles that worked hard when we were doing those leg raises. So just noticing where you feel the benefits. Where you feel this is a kindness to your body. And take a little time to notice any bits of you that are a little struggly. Maybe it's an area that you often think about and wish would be better, or you aim to change or to improve or to relieve. So do let yourself rest your attention sometimes on that which is calling for attention through potentially discomfort or sensation. And let that bit of you know that you've got its back, you're on the case, you understand its needs, and that you're doing its best, your best, and you know it's doing its best. And then choose to bring your attention somewhere in your body that you know consciously is pretty good, doing quite well, is strong. And then see, can you bring your awareness to or find somewhere in your body that feels really pleasant right now? And that can be harder. Pleasant doesn't have to be momentous and orgasmic. It can be much more low key. And then just check in if you want to stay where you are or you do want to go to that other posture to snuggle in as I say farewell. So you might want to slide over onto your side from legs up the wall, or if you're watching the recording and you're in cobbler, you might want to roll to the side of that. And just take your way with as little disturbance as possible to your chosen last posture for your rest. Have your eye pillow with you, or your whatever you can throw over your eyes, but before you cover your eyes, we'll keep them open for a little bit. And as you lie, begin to look around your space, the room you're in. And as you look around, notice what you notice. And become aware of the quality of your vision. Do things seem crisp and clear or a bit foggy? And as you orient through your eyes, notice how's your breathing? And also notice what feels good in your body. Choosing your moment, close your eyes and perhaps put your cool fingertips on your eyes if they are cool, or just place your eye pillow or sleeve of a sweater or sock over your eyes. When you're done with the cool hands, swap the hands for a little scarf or your eye pillow. And allow yourself to melt like chocolate over the supports that are beneath you. Maybe it's the floor, maybe it's bolsters and cushions. And just like we melted around that little cushion or the ball, the inflated ball under the hip, feel a sense of spreading and just the tiniest fibers and ligaments and tendons just almost sighing with the relief of the holding of them in a spacious position that allows for perhaps a new layer of letting go. And as always, I encourage you to stay there as long as you have time. The joy of you being at home is that you don't need to sit up and pack up and leave. But do remember that when you do feel that you are replete with this lovely practice, you spend a little time awakening yourself gently with breath, with movement, and spending a little time perhaps in a seated meditation before you get on with your day or your evening. May you be well. May you be free from harm. May you progress where possible. May you find ways to sit at ease with the rest. And may all beings know peace. Om Shanti. Namaste. Thank you very much and rest well. And see you next time. Goodbye.